Hi, I'm Joanne Cary. Welcome back to Embodied Soul Podcast, a multidimensional space intended to support you in living, being, and thriving as the embodied soul you are. In this week's conversation, I've been called to talk about our integrity, transparency, discernment, and standing in your own unique power and not giving it away to others, regardless of whether it's family, society, spiritual teachers, or otherwise. So if you are ready to join in this conversation, pull up a comfy chair, invite in your soul, and be open to receive exactly what you need to live, be, and thrive as the embodied soul you are. In this week's episode of Embodied Soul, I've been called to talk to one of the experiences I've had around a previous spiritual mentor, one that I started out with as I was opening up to my own higher dimensional self, and how during that time I was very aligned with this person. And then over the course of time, as I continued on my path, I became out of resonance with them and I pursued on to other teachers, other trainings, other pursuits that felt aligned with who I was at that time. And I continued to do that. And more recently, this person came back up within the social realms, and I found myself critiquing, kind of being a bit judgmental and a bit surprised by what was being shared. And as I've become very much in tune with what's true, what's not true, I could feel a dissonance in the communication. Over the course of a week or so, I also noticed that the communication shifted and it became much more in alignment. There was no distortion, there was no untruth, as I could feel it within my own system. And what this brought up for me is that each person around us, including you and me, we're all doing the best that we can with the tools and the information that we have right now. And that means that whether it's your family member or whether it's someone you see on social media or whether it's your spiritual teacher or your coach or a guru, everybody is sharing, teaching, being who they can be based on the frame of reference they're living their life through, based on their beliefs, based on the experiences and what they're going through. And I think it's a beautiful reminder that we can only share from our perspective. We can only share from our experience and our vibrational frequency at the time that we're sharing it. And that as we move along the path, as we move in our lives forward and have new experiences, come in contact with new teachings, new people, that we might change our opinion. We might change what we believe. We might change what feels good. We might go in and out of resonance with people, with places, with experiences, and that this is okay. Sometimes I've found, and again, this is my experience, and I would invite you to feel into it for you, is that we can sometimes anchor down into what we believe because we've maybe shared it. And then you might think, but if I change my opinion, I'm going to lose credibility, or I'm going to lose this friend or have a bad experience by it. And that's fear, right? That is what we're being called away from. And I think it's so important for us to recognize when we're feeling that way. And if we learn something different, if we experience something different, then we make a new choice and we choose again. And we're allowed to do that because we are on a learning experience. No one is expecting you to be perfect. Nobody is expecting you to get it right all the time. right? Because it's not about right or wrong. It's about our experience of it. It's about what we're learning from it. I recall back in my corporate days that the greatest leaders in the organization were ones who would take accountability for the decisions and choices that they made. And when they learned something different, when someone brought a different perspective, a different lesson to them, they would take that into consideration. And if they realized there was a better choice to be made, they would make that better choice. And that's how I live my life. And that's how I frame how I exist, that I always want to be sharing what is of the highest and what is of truth. Yet because we're opening up to our multidimensional selves, we can only interpret and experience what it is from where we are. And a month from now, or 3 months from now, or 2 years from now, we might realize that something that we said way back here in this now moment is no longer accurate, that it was what we needed to hear or needed to know, or how we interpreted it here, and it's not what we are experiencing, or it's not our experience in a future now moment. And I think Maya Angelou stated it very well. And so I'm just going to pull up her quote here for just a moment, where she said, "Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better." And I think that is so key. We don't want to give our power away. We want to be in our discernment. And so it comes from two perspectives. If you're in a leadership position, if you are a wayshower of the wayshower, which in all likelihood, if you're listening to this podcast, you are, then you get to be really discerning and you get to be really reflective on your own integrity. Are you sharing from your highest? Are you teaching from your highest? Are you being from that place? And that is our integrity as we share and we communicate and we teach our children and we be good friends and partners and so forth. And yet, if more information comes in or we have a different experience, it is absolutely okay. And I would say required in many cases, like I would say required for us to be in our integrity and to not shy back from or anchoring down into this is right, even when the evidence or when your experience might be different, that it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to have a different experience. It's okay to share something different and say, this was my experience, but since then I've had this new experience, learned this new thing, have this new evidence, and now I'm sharing, being something different. And it's no one else's choice. It's no one else's role to tell you how you should be. It's your own discernment. And so part of this is as you continue to engage with people, and whether it's someone like me that you're listening to right now, I'm sharing from my embodied perspective, the things that I've learned that have worked, the things that have brought me into alignment, into balance, into higher frequencies, into greater connection with spirit and to my multidimensional self. But I certainly know that during some of my liminal space, my dream space teachings and lessons, I will experience and interpret things one way, and then it'll be a few weeks later where they will give me a different perspective. And so I'm conscious and I choose when I share it, when I feel I've got it to a level of integration that I can share in integrity with you so that it will benefit you in your path forward. But in a world of social media where people are posting so many times a day, sometimes what they may share, and maybe I'll find myself in that circumstance too, what they share may not be 100% in their authenticity. For there is distortion running. There is fear running on what people will think. How will they respond? Will I be rejected? Will my social media following go down? Or all of those types of things. Will people not like me? Will I lose my friends, my family? These are important things. And so people might say something that isn't in their highest or isn't the full truth. And that's where your own practice of discernment and understanding your energies, understanding what is expansive or contractive, what is feeling true to you and what is not, that's what you're stepping into now. You're stepping into a period of time, and it's going to get more and more. The guides have shared with me that there will come a time when there will be no lies, because we will have such a connected link to everybody else around us. Because remember, we're all one, we're all connected energetically. But that there will come a time where someone tells a lie or tries to tell a lie, and everyone will automatically know that it is a lie. Of which case, people will learn that telling lies simply aren't practical, because nobody will believe them anyhow, and it will have no impact. It won't have the influence that it currently has in our society today. That's where we're moving. We're moving to a place where we cannot lie. There is no fear, because nobody lies unless there's a fear underpinning it. Do you understand that? There's never been a lie told that was not told in fear. And so as we move forward, you get to stand in your own integrity, your own discernment. You have the choice to move away from any teacher, any situation that isn't in alignment to that. And also know that, like anyone else has the choice, you also have the ability to learn, to grow, and to make new choices, and to have different opinions than you did some time ago. Because we don't believe the same things that we believed when we were young. We might not believe in fairy tales or the, Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny or any other, the Tooth Fairy, if you believed in any one of those. But we believed it at the time. And then when we learned it differently, we believed differently. And now we get to do that with all areas of our life, that to continue to understand that learning is a process, that everyone around you is doing the very best that they can with the tools that they have, and you have the power to discern who you listen to, what level of frequency you're in attunement with. And if you go back to the previous episode where I talk about the varying levels of frequency that are happening, the various realities that are solidifying into place over time, that you get to choose right now. And so you can anchor down into a political party, you could anchor down into a certain belief, even to contrary information, or you can choose to allow yourself to grow, to be in your own discernment, to feel what feels right for you now, and know that you can change your mind going forward, that you can change your mind. And like Maya Angelou said, do the best that you can until you know better, and then do better. That's all we get to ask for. We get to all do that, because this life is a journey. It's not a destination. There's no goal we're getting to. It's all about soul expansion. And in this lifetime, it's about bringing that soul into body, living from that embodied place where your existence, where your sheer presence is impacting, lifting, and supporting all of humanity. And I think with that said, I'm going to end this podcast. If you have liked this conversation, please like it, share it, turn on notifications, and subscribe to my channel. It really helps grow the channel and get the messages out to those who need it. And I look forward to seeing you on next week's episode of Embodied Soul.